Stan, Stan, here we are in the man cave on a Sunday morning, doing a little bit of a video. This is, just like I say, first of all, before we go any further, I hope that anyone who's a regular viewer at my channel knows I'm doing that ordinary life business, just want my working life mainly. And I'm not insulted if anyone from my regular military channel types don't watch it, because I understand that. Just because I've got a platform to voice my opinions or my story, which is the ramblings of a boring middle-aged git. I'd also like to say, just touching on what some of the YouTubers have mentioned, and this is going to come up in the next video I'm going to do after this, like collecting this sort of stuff, some of the stuff that involves symbols of totalitarian regimes. I have had a couple of comments over the last few weeks. One I deleted, the other one appeared then disappeared. Like, if this me personally, and I know everyone else I'm in touch with on YouTube, as far as I'm aware, I mean, they're just people who collect. It's like going to visit a museum. That's how I look at it. And if you don't like symbols of totalitarian regimes, images of war, well, don't watch my channel. It's simple as that. There's no ulterior motives in what I do at all. I love my idea. If you really want to know, is I want all of my stuff under one roof, like an old-fashioned museum, the type I used to go to when I was a kid in the 1970s. So with that said, that's it. Right, so let's get on with the video. So, 3 photographs in front of you here. Now, one there, I hope you can see that, is my great-grandfather, who was a stoker on HMS Yarmouth, Battle of Jutland. The fella there is my wife's grandfather. We'll get a close-up of him. A bit of blue tack on the back. It's a copy of a photograph. He looks like a rum character, doesn't he? Now, well, first of all, I suppose you should say, how come your great-grandfather is the same age as your wife's grandfather? Well, someone's asked me this when I did a video around this subject before. My wife's 5 years older than me. Her parents had her later in life, and he was older when he had her mother. I mean, my in-laws are 35, 36 years older than me. So they're old enough to be my grandparents physiologically and generationally wise, definitely. I mean, the father-in-law did national service. Like my parents were quite young when they had me. So you see why there's a sort of generational difference. Now, he was born 1899-ish. Didn't serve in the First World War. I think it's because he was a farmer. But he did go to Canada, where he obviously developed an interest in pistoleros. He made a deathbed confession that he'd had to leave Canada. I think it was for blowing a raspberry at a policeman. Well, just look at his photograph. It wasn't. I don't think it was anything nice. Anyway, he passed away a long time ago. I believe before my wife was born. So he died in the very early 60s. So what is the point of this video? So we've been helping my mother-in-law clear out some stuff, and came across like a suitcase full of papers. His stuff here, this fella. And in there, she said, I'm going to chuck this out. In there was a postcard, a picture postcard of, can you see the writing? It is the SS Laconia. There's nothing written on the back. So I picked that out of the collection of stuff, and I said, "You're throwing this out?" She said, "Oh yes, I don't want that photograph of a ship." So the SS Laconia. Now, I am going to be reading from notes. I saw that straight away, and I didn't immediately. I just knew. I knew the name. I didn't immediately go, "Oh yes, I know that incident." But we'll have a look. So the SS Laconia, RMS Laconia, was built in 1921. Civilian ocean liner for Cunard at Swan Hunters, Wigham, Richardson, Wallsend, Northumberland, January 1923. Oh, sorry, January 1921. January 1923 it started. I mean, it sailed, you know, the usual thing, across the Atlantic, around the world cruise, blah, 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 blah. During World War II, it was converted to an armed troop ship, basically, an armed merchant cruiser. And on the 12th of September 1942, captained by Captain Rudolph Sharp, It was carrying 463 officers and crew, 87 civilians, 286 British soldiers, 1,793 Italian prisoners, and 103 Polish soldiers acting as guards of the prisoners. This captain had been the captain of the RMS Laconia, which had been sunk by German bombs 70 June 1940 in the French port of St. Lucia, off the French port of St. Lucia. So this ship, Laconia, was just 110, no, should we note we're a bit clearer, 110 nautical miles, or 210 kilometres north-northeast of Ascension Island. So basically U-156, which was commanded by Corvette Capitan Werner Hartenstein, spotted the large ship sailing on its own and gave the order to attack. The Laconia sent out a message that she was sinking and she'd been attacked. There was enough lifeboats on board, but because the ship was listing to one side, they couldn't get them all away. The Italians were locked in the hold, Italian prisoners of war. Most of them escaped through ventilation shafts or breaking hatches down. Several were shot when the group of prisoners rushed the lifeboat. A large number were bayoneted to death to prevent their boarding one of the few lifeboats available. The Polish guards were armed with rifles and fixed bayonets. However, they were not loaded and the guards carried no ammunition. Witnesses indicated that few of the prisoners were shot. Instead, most of the casualties were bayoneted. So, by the time the last lifeboats were launched, most of the survivors had hit the water. The rest jumped in the ocean. The survivors later recount how Italians in the water were either shot or had their hands severed by axes if they tried to climb into a lifeboat. That's brutal stuff. The blood soon attracted sharks, obviously, of the coast of Africa. Corporal Dino Monte, one of the few Italian survivors, stated, "Sharks darted among us, grabbing an arm, biting a leg. And other larger beasts swallowed entire bodies. As Laconia was going under bow first, U-156 surfaced to capture the ship's surviving senior officers. To their surprise, they saw over 2,000 people struggling in the water." So the Germans realised what was happening. It was a humanitarian disaster. Hartenstein immediately began rescue operations while flying Red Cross flag. Laconia sank at 11:23 p.m, an hour after the attack. Hartenstein sent a coded message to the Behavshaber der U-boot, alerting him to the situation. Told him that we requested orders. The head of the submarine operations, Admiral Karl Dönitz, immediately ordered 7 U-boats from Wolfpack Eiselbahn to take part in gathering, which had been planning a surprise attack on Cape Town to divert the scene to pick up survivors. Now, I'm not going to go all into this reading all the way through. Basically, the U-boats took the passengers under tow. They had them crowded on the deck, except the survivors, rather. During this time, the convoy, if you like, was spotted by an American B-24 Liberator bomber flying from bases at Ascension. The U-boats, a submarine, was travelling with Red Cross flag draped across the gun deck. Hartenstein signalled the pilot in both Morse code English, requesting assistance. A British officer also messaged the aircraft. RAF officer speaking from German submarine. Laconia survivors on board, soldiers, civilians, women, children. Lieutenant James D. Harden of the United States Army Air Force did not respond to messages. Turning away, he notified his base of the situation. The senior officer on duty that day, Captain Robert C. Richardson III, who claimed that he did not know that this was a Red Cross sanctioned German rescue operation, ordered the B-24 to sink the submarine. Richardson later claimed that he believed that the rules of war at the time did not permit a combat ship to fly Red Cross flags. He feared that the German submarine would attack the 2 Allied freighters diverted to the site of the British had sent out a rescue mission. He assumed that German submarine was rescuing only the Italian POWs. In his tactical assessment, he believed that the submarine might discover and shell the secret Ascension airfield and fuel tanks, thus cutting off critical Allied air supply route to British forces in Egypt and Soviet forces in Russia. So they attacked with depth charges, killing one landed among the lifeboats, killing dozens of survivors, while others straddled the submarine itself, causing the Germans had to cut and run. They had to push all the survivors into the sea. They had to cut the U-boats adrift. To 2 seconds, just I'm reading my notes. Ignoring Commander Hartney's request that they stay in the area to be rescued by the Vichy French, 2 lifeboats decided to head for Africa. That's what one which began the journey with 68 people on board reached the African coast 27 days later with only 16 survivors. The other were rescued by a British trawler after 40 days at sea. Only 4 of its 52 occupants were still alive. So, unaware of the attack, 2 of the U-boats continued to pick up survivors. Let's see, more notes, flicking through my notes. And I mean, it's there is so much to read on this incident. I'm just getting to the point. It's rather complicated. I mean, the Germans in the end, they decided that no more. It was going to be the Laconia order, that they wouldn't pick up any more survivors in a situation as similar to this. I've cacked that up a bit, haven't I? Went on a bit too long. Yeah, so it's the aftermath of it, I suppose, is that she was armed, she was a troop ship, legitimate target, but she was sailing on her own in obviously hostile waters. The Germans torpedoed her and immediately tried to assist and help. The Americans, in the officer's report, he says the reason why that they tried to sink the U-boat or U-boats. Me personally, I mean, obviously the Germans were trying to do the right thing. I think this would have happened anyway. I mean, it's still fairly early in the war, isn't it? The Americans had been in the war about 9 months, so it's, not quite the halfway point. This was going to happen eventually, I would imagine. But yeah, that's the Laconia incident, and he probably, going back to the great grandfather here, this fella, he went to work in Canada on the big ranches and stuff out there. So what I'm presuming is he, either on his way there, but more than likely his way back, bought this picture postcard of the Laconia, probably from like the purser's office or whatever happens on those ships, when he never wrote on it and just brought it back as a memento. I've never seen one with like the stamp in the corner, but yeah, a nice little piece of history that was going to go in the bin off the original ship. And I think he came back in the 1930s, something along them lines. So that's my great-grandfather, HMS Yarmouth, SS Laconia, and El Bastardo. Anyway, I'll get into trouble for saying that. So, and he's one of the cats down here. What are you doing? Right, I think we've got another cat in the garden here, so we've got a drama. So this is Stan, and I'll see you